Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MeanGene Show here on iHeartRadio, December 5th, 2020, Saturday, December 5th. So, very first weekend of NFL football. I guess if you want to count the Wednesday game, which was still part of week 12, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, but this officially kicks off week 13 of the National Football League. No Thursday game. The Thursday night games normally would kick off the beginning of the new week, but because of the COVID-19 postponements between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, things are sort of pushed back a little bit. But officially, week 13 gets started tomorrow in the National Football League. So I will have my picks and all of that stuff coming up a little later. But I just want to give you a quick rundown on what's actually been happening so far in the NFL. I want to go ahead and start with the players of the week. The players of the week for the last week were in the NFC, Kirk Cousins, Jacob Mariner, and Robbie Gold. Over in the AFC, it was Tyreek Hill, AJ Klein, and Nick Folk. The players of the month. Now, this right here is interesting because there was some great plays made by some great players in the month of November, but this is where the NFL decided that, okay, although there were many great players, these were the ones that stood out for the month of November. Over in the NFC, Dalvin Cook, Cameron Jordan, Young Ho Koo. And if you don't know who Young Ho Koo is, he is the kicker for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is really interesting because of all the great players on the Atlanta Falcons football team. We're talking Gurley, we're talking Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, you name it. A kicker was the best damn player on the team for the month of November. I'm just saying, all right? So, nothing against kickers, right? But, I mean, this guy's been pretty consistent. So, big props to him. Over in the AFC, your players of the month of November were Patrick Mahomes, T.J. Watt, and Jason Sanders. No argument there for me for those players over in the AFC. The rookies of the month for November. Now this is interesting because we can kind of tally up and see, where this will add up. Hopefully to the rookie of the year in the NFL, and some big names out there that keep coming up. But how about Justin Herbert? Should be no surprise that he was one of your players of the month, I mean, rookies of the month. I'm sorry, for the month of November. And so was Jeremy Chan, two outstanding players. How about the Pro Bowl voting? It's underway now. And I think that so far we have two Chiefs that are leading the fan votes for the 2021 Pro Bowl presented by Verizon. Patrick Mahomes is in your top five. Russell Wilson, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this guy is just continuing. I had a great conversation about him today. I mean, what he's doing on the football field is just amazing. I mean, I tell you, just he's getting it done. An outstanding player. I had a chance to see him play up close and personal last year. Russell Wilson, same thing. It does not surprise me that these two quarterbacks are the top vote getters so far because, I mean, just look at some of the things the Seahawks have turned their season around, losing two in a row, great bounce back. Yeah, you put Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll together, who knows what could happen? Just scary stuff there. Almost up there with the Belichick and Brady relationship. Of course, the Seahawks don't have as many championships to show for it, but still, the continuity between those two guys is just unreal. Dalvin Cook, Dalvin Cook is streaky. Sometimes you don't hear from him. Sometimes you don't even know he's on the Minnesota Vikings team. But we knew last month, in the month of November, that's why he was one of the players of the month. And Dalvin Cook is just, I mean, maybe he's just one of those late bloomers. And another late bloomer is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry always starts the season slow. Somehow the engines, I don't know, they're just not oiled up or whatever, the WD-40, whatever he uses to get himself going. But people like it. People like seeing him run all over people. I just think about that game he played against the Buffalo Bills. Oh my goodness. Anyway, and Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey is another one of your top five vote getters for the Pro Bowl. I mean, you can't have Patrick Mahomes in and not have Travis Kelsey. I think those two sort of go together. And the playoffs. Now, I did a show the other day, kind of give you the playoff scenarios and the standings. Okay, but here I have some updated information, and this pertains to Week 13 of the National Football League. Three teams can clinch a playoff berth in Week 13. Three, two in the AFC, one in the NFC. The Chiefs can. The Chiefs can clinch a playoff berth with a win tomorrow. So can the New Orleans Saints and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So those three teams can clinch a playoff berth, and that, in Week 13, that is right on pace, I guess. I mean, considering Chiefs only lost one game, the Steelers are perfect, and the Saints, I think, have only lost two games. So would be interesting to see. So that is your rundown for Week 13 of the National Football League. So now we will get into the Week 13 games. Now, no games on Thursday. As you know, things sort of got pushed back in the NFL due to COVID-19. The Baltimore Ravens, I guess they would be the culprit in this, having so many games pushed back. The Week 12 ended Wednesday with the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Baltimore Ravens. Week 13 would have officially got underway Thursday night with the Cowboys and the Ravens, but that game has been pushed back to, I want to say Tuesday. Yeah, I want to say Tuesday. And then, of course, so therefore we don't have any game that would have kicked off the week. So we will start fresh here with the first game taking place tomorrow, Sunday, December 6th. The first game we have is a NFC South divisional matchup. The 9-2 New Orleans Saints at the 4-7 Atlanta Falcons. Well, and with a win, I just mentioned previously that the New Orleans Saints will clinch a playoff berth with that win. So Sean Payton is doing some wonderful things. Last week they beat the Denver Broncos 31-3. Seems like Taysom Hill is getting his mojo going. 233 passing yards, two rushing touchdowns in week 11. And of course, his first career started quarterback. And then he had two rushing touchdowns in week 12. And believe it or not, he's the second player since Eric Hipple with two plus rushing touchdowns in each of his first two career starts at quarterback. So if anyone thought that, and at first, a lot of us, including myself, when I say a lot of us, media types, thought that Jameis Winston should have gotten the opportunity to replace Drew Brees while he's out. But man, you got to know Sean Payton, and you got to know that he knows a little something about this team. Been with this team for many years now, won a Super Bowl, knows his players, just like any coach should know his players better than anybody. But apparently, not a bad decision starting Taysom Hill at quarterback. The Falcons, they were winners over the Raiders last week. I mean, I think that was a shocker for most people. They not only were they winners of the Raiders over the Raiders, they beat the Raiders 43-6, and that was probably the ugliest loss of John Gruden's career since he's been back with the Raiders. But anyway, divisional game like this, man, incredible. I think the Saints are going to win this game. I would pick the Saints to win this game. Sometimes you just don't know what Falcons team is going to show up. So I mean, you just don't know. But I think when it's all business, and it would definitely be all business tomorrow, I would say that. And the game is in Atlanta, by the way, because I saw that it was in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, not the Superdome. But the game is in Atlanta. Really won't matter. I think the Saints will get in there and take care of business and improve to 10-2 and clinch that playoff spot. The next game we have is the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. Bears 4-7. I'm sorry, the Lions are 4-7. The Bears are 5-6. The Bears, oh my goodness, I think they have lost something like 5 games in a row. They lose to Green Bay last week, 41-25. And here they are with back-to-back NFC North divisional games. Not good. Things are just really looking bad. I was speaking with my nephew today. He actually lives in Chicago and is a Bears fan, and they want everybody out of there. They said, and this is one year that the fans are glad that they're not able to be there. Although they want to go there and not cheer the Bears, they want to boo the Bears and get rid of Matt Nagy, who made what I think is a career-ending decision, deciding to bench Mitchell Trubisky in favor of Nick Foles, and that just didn't work out right. and now and Mitchell Trubisky got injured. So when they wanted to insert him back into the lineup, they couldn't. So it's a disaster. And here you go with a divisional game, and this is interesting because now the Detroit Lions they decided to part ways with Matt Patricia finally. Okay, they lost by the same score to the Houston Texans last week. 41-25. So they got two teams that played in a game the week prior. The scores were identical, 41-25, 41-25. And guess what? I think the Lions are going to try and say, "Hey, we're going to step in." And Darrell Bevel, by the way, will be coaching the game. He is the interim coach there for the Detroit Lions until they go into whatever direction they're going to be going into. But I'm going to take Matthew Stafford to go in there and just beat the Bears. I think tomorrow, I think by the end of that game, we should kind of know which direction, leadership wise, front office wise, the Bears are going to be going in because I think the Detroit Lions are going to go in there and get the Bears. With that loss tomorrow, with a loss tomorrow, the Bears should they might just be mathematically out of the playoffs. I mean, right now they're still in, but I don't think they're going to win that game. Next game, Indianapolis Colts 7-4 at the Houston Texans 4-7. The Indianapolis Colts, man, they lose to the Tennessee Titans 45-26. And the Texans beat the Detroit Lions 41-25. Romeo Crennel, I don't know if he really has an interest in that head coaching job. He's in the interim role there after the firing of Bill O'Brien. The game is going to be played at NRG Stadium here in Houston, and these games really have been sort of competitive. Now, what I will say is that the Texans are playing some good football right now. So, and the Colts are just sort of slipping a little bit. And, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to go with the Texans. The Texans are the a hot team right now, and I think the Colts, I don't know. I mean, they are sliding at the wrong time. They were in control of the AFC South, and now the Tennessee Titans they are winning that division and will win that division. And the Colts, I tell you, with a loss like this, now the Colts are still a playoff team, but there's so many good teams in the AFC that another loss or two, and the Colts could find themselves having one of those winning records, but not being invited to the postseason. And that I think that could happen. And let's see. I think the Texans are going to win that game tomorrow. Next game we have is the Cincinnati Bengals 2-1 at the Miami Dolphins 7-4. Man, I mean, just many years ago, this would just be identical records. So you would see the Dolphins would be the 2-1 team, and the Bengals would be the 7-4 team. This game is going to be played at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, and I tell you what, oh my goodness. Well, I mean, we know that Brandon Allen replaced Joe Burrows as the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, so he's going to get the start. And Tua, I believe, is going to start for the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins beat the Jets last week 23. Bengals lost to the Giants 19-17. A game that I didn't see happening, but I thought the Bengals would get the win, but they did. So Zach Taylor is going to be interesting to see what happens with him, head coach of the Bengals, if the Bengals organization decide to go in different places. But the Miami Dolphins will win this game and continue to be in the playoff hunt. I just want to say it like that because it's just Miami and playoffs have not coexisted for many, many, many years. Next game we have is the Jacksonville Jaguars, 1-10. 1-10. So not only does the New York Jets have their eyes set on the number one pick in the next draft, next NFL draft, so does the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's a battle of who's going to be the sorriest team and at the end of the year. The Minnesota Vikings 5-6, outside chance to make these playoffs. They struggled and should have lost against Carolina last week. They squeaked by with a 1 point win, 28-27 over Carolina. Jacksonville Jaguars, they played the Cleveland Browns pretty close last week. They lose 27-25, but they really, really did do a pretty good job. Mike Glennon completed 20 of 35 passes and 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Not bad for a 96.7 quarterback rating. and his first start of the season. That's pretty cool. But Kirk Cousins did a little bit better. He passed for 307 yards, 3 touchdowns, and had a 115.7 rating, which is Kirk Cousins like when he's the good Kirk Cousins. So, but the Minnesota Vikings will win this game tomorrow to improve to 6-6, get to 500. Might have still have an outside chance to sneak in to the playoffs. The game is going to be played in Minnesota at US Bank Stadium. The next game we have is the Las Vegas Raiders 6-5 at the New York Jets 0-11. I mean, this is an AFC game which counts for playoff purposes for the Raiders. I mean, they really need to win to improve to 7-5. You don't want to be the team or the first team to lose to the New York Jets. I don't think that's going to happen, but man, I don't know. The way the Raiders got beat last week by Atlanta and having to come back to the East Coast again. Whoo! I don't know. They might even get stuck on the East Coast. I hear there's a big snowstorm supposed to be coming out that way, so who knows? And the game is played outdoors, and the Raiders play in a brand new stadium indoors, so could have some impact on the game. We will see, but I think both teams coming off a loss, of course. Miami beat the Jets. Raiders lose to Atlanta. I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this game, but I hope I don't have to come back next week and explain why I made a bad decision with my pick. But this game sort of scares me a little bit. Anyway, I got the Raiders winning. Probably the best game on the schedule for Sunday is the 8-3 Cleveland Browns at the 8-3 Tennessee Titans. This is going to be an early game. It's going to be played in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. This is going to be a game worth watching. I mean, because all the other games, I mean, there are some really ugly games for the week 13. I mean, this is your best matchup, 8-3 versus 8-3. I mean, you got 6-5 versus 0-11. That was the Raiders game I just talked about. You got 1-10 versus the 5-6, a 2-8-1 versus a 7-4, a 7-4 versus 4-7. I mean, it just doesn't get any better. This is the only competitive freaking game of the day. I mean, the closest game, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, is going to be the LA Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. Both of those teams have winning records, but for the most part, it's just going to be a crappy day of football competition. I mean, unless we just get some upsets here, but these records are so bad that there wouldn't be an upset. And then Tuesday, you got Dallas Cowboys at the 6-5. You got the 3-8 Dallas Cowboys at the 6-5 Baltimore Ravens. You got your Buffalo Bills Monday night game, 8-3 versus 5-6. And then your Monday afternoon rescheduled game, Washington National Football Team 4-7 at the 11-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Denver Broncos Sunday night game on NBC 4-7 Denver Broncos at the 10-1 Kansas City Chiefs. So I mean that is just the competition level for Week 13. So that's why I'm hyped up about the Cleveland Browns and the Tennessee Titans, which is interesting in itself. I mean, no one has ever been hyped up for a Cleveland Browns game. Browns fans, man, this is going to be a really, really good game. And this is another conversation I had today, and I was thinking about this situation, but it just seems like the Cleveland Browns, since losing Odell Beckham, has just focused, and I mean, they're just winning. I mean, and it seems like they're getting better here late. So they are definitely going to be in the playoffs. And as far as, picking this game here, I mean, I'm just having to look at, what took place last week. Jaguars almost got Cleveland, but it didn't happen. Nick Chubb, man. Oh, I tell you, Nick Chubb is, whew. How about this? So he had a season high 176 scrimmage yards, which equates to 144 rushing and 32 receiving, and a touchdown last week. And I mean, this guy is just doing great stuff. Kareem Hunt, their running game is unfreaking believable, and they're going against another team with a great running game, and that's the Tennessee Titans with Derrick Henry. He rushed for 178 yards. So he said, "Hey, Nick Chubb, I'm not gonna let you get me." Then he had 3 touchdowns last week. I think he had those 3 touchdowns all in the first half against the Indianapolis Colts, and they just beat the brakes off the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. So they are going to be at home and telling the Titans to come on. Telling the Browns to come on. I'm going with the Titans in this. I mean, this just looks kind of scary for Cleveland, but I think as far if you want to see some of the best running backs in football tomorrow, then I would tune in to this game. It might be a low scoring game because of the run. I mean, I would love to see Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry rush for the same amount of yards or better. I don't know how that's going to hold up. I think the Titans' defense is a little bit better. Well, I don't know. I have to say this is going to because Miles Garrett. I mean, this guy is no joke either. So I mean, this is going to be a good game. So it's an early game, and it will be followed by in the afternoon, this next game here, the Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. So the 7-4 Rams at the 6-5 Arizona Cardinals. As you know, this is an NFC West matchup. Last week, Rams lose to the 49ers. I mean, I wouldn't have picked that game that way. I didn't pick that game that way, but they lose 23-20 to the San Francisco 49ers. And the Cardinals lose to the New England Patriots 2017. So both of these teams coming off losses. They know how important it is to stay. Right now, you still got three teams in the NFC West that are going to make the playoffs. You got the division leading Seattle Seahawks, and then you got these two teams right now are wild cards. I can't remember exactly where they are in the wild cards, but I can certainly tell you. And it is the Rams are the fifth seed right now. The Cardinals are the seventh seed. So if the Cardinals lose, they're going to be tied, and depending on what the Minnesota Vikings do, we can see a flip flop there. I mean, they could drop out of the playoff race with a loss tomorrow, and the Vikings win. They might be able to move up. I don't know how their other competition looks uh, as far as conference records between both these teams, but just on the surface here, whoa, the Vikings are a hot team. So this is going to be interesting, really, really, really interesting. And if the Rams were to lose that game, then I mean they would still be in that playoff hunt there. They would probably drop or stay the same depending on what the Buccaneers do. And by the way, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a bye this week, so they will not be playing. Must be nice to have a bye in week 13. Whoa. If any week that you want to get your team together from injuries, from just catching up, this, that, and the other, man, you're going to give Tom Brady a little chance to regroup here and I tell you, watch out for the Buccaneers after their late break. I mean, to get a break this late is really meaningful. Trust me, it is. So I think we should see. But anyway, I'm gonna go with the Rams to win. I'm going to go with the Rams to win. I think we just haven't seen the best of the Rams are just loaded. I know the Cardinals need to win, but I think the Rams are going to win. And you know what? I tell you what. Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, DeAndre Hopkins have really played a special season this year. So I don't really want to see Arizona drop out of the playoff race. So I'm going to switch my pick right here, something I rarely ever do in the middle of a show. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Okay, sorry, Rams fans. I know you like, probably calling me names right about now. But no, I just think that, the Rams, I mean, the Cardinals are just one of those teams that they really play great football. So the game is going to be played at State Farm Stadium. So I got to think that these guys are going to redeem themselves off that loss last week. I mean, a game that they really should have won. They should have beat the Patriots. But my official pick is the Arizona Cardinals will win this game. All right, the next game we have is the New York Giants 4-7 at the Seattle Seahawks 8-3. Seahawks are just playing great football. They beat a Philadelphia Eagles team that just seemed like they basically given up. Russell Wilson is just on fire, one of those guys that's voted there in the top five of the Pro Bowl voting. And then you have the New York Giants, who I believe was I think the New York Giants are in the playoffs because I think they are winning that division. If yes, they are. They're 4-7, and of course, I just don't see them winning over the Seahawks tomorrow. And nor do I see the Washington National Football Team beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's just say if that does happen, things might just stay the same in that NFC least or NFC East, whatever you want to call it. I think the Giants, win or lose, they will probably still be in first place in that division. Dallas and the Eagles have no chance of just really catching up. I don't see it anyway. I mean, I could be wrong, but I definitely got the Seattle Seahawks winning that game tomorrow at home against the Giants. Next game we have Philadelphia Eagles 3-7-1 at the Green Bay Packers 8-3. Used to be a great matchup back in the day, Philadelphia Eagles, but nah, it used to be the old what Donovan McNabb and Brett Favre, back in the day. But now you're not going to get that now. Now you got Carson Wentz and Aaron Rodgers, and man, there's just no way that the Packers are going to lose this game. It's played at Lambeau Field tomorrow evening. I got the Green Bay Packers improving to 9-3. Next game we have is the New England Patriots 5-6 at the Los Angeles Chargers 3-8. The Patriots have a chance to get to 500. They have a chance to get to 6-6. But I think Justin Herbert is going to have something to say about that. I think the Chargers are just better than what their record shows, 3-8, and I think we say that because they've played so many competitive games all the way to the fourth quarter and they lose. I mean, and that's just man. Every time you look up the TV, they're winning until they get to the fourth quarter. I mean, they should be 8-3 if anything, but they're 3-8. I think they get the win. I think they get the win over the New England Patriots. I don't think the Patriots get to 500 tomorrow. They struggled last week against Arizona, even though they won. But I do believe that so what did Cam Newton do last week? He passed for 84 yards, rushed for 46. So I don't know. I mean, historically he's done well against the Chargers, but yeah, I mean it's different Chargers team. He's on a different team. So I think the Chargers are going to win this game. Then this brings us to the Sunday night game. Your Sunday night game is your 4-7 Denver Broncos at the 10-1 Kansas City Chiefs. Broncos lose big last week to the Saints 31-3. Buccaneers win over Tom Brady, and the Chiefs win over Tom Brady and the Buccaneers 27-24. And the game is played at Arrowhead Stadium. I have the Chiefs winning this game, improving to 11-1, and will clinch a playoff berth. That's your Sunday night game. So let's go with your official Monday night game. I think the official Monday night game was the Buffalo Bills 8-3 at the San Francisco 49ers 5-6, which is I think it's gonna be a good game. I mean, 49ers, big win over the Rams last week. Nick Mullins, I mean, hey, say what you want to say about them. I mean, they got the win. They got the win. Kyle Shanahan finally put together a good game plan, and they got the win. The Buffalo Bills beat the Chargers last week, 27-17. Josh Allen continues to just tear it up a little bit there. And how about the rookie running back, Zach Moss? He's doing great. You got Stephon Diggs over there, David Singletary. You just got some great teams there. Cole Beasley, how about that touchdown pass last week he had, huh? That was quite interesting. But I think the 49ers are going to win. I really do. And I know things are really looking kind of shaky for them as far as playing. I think they have agreed to play their games in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, because of the COVID-19 restrictions that are going to be imposed in the state of California, but more specifically in the region, the Bay Area, where the 49ers play. So I think the 49ers will get the win, and that is your official Monday night game. Now, your rescheduled Monday night game is the Washington National Football Team or Washington Football Team 4-7 at the Pittsburgh Steelers 11-0. So the Steelers are going to play something like 3 games in 12 days. Remember, I can't remember when their official bye was. I think they had like a week 9 or week 8 bye, but that was before their matchup against the Tennessee Titans early on in the year. So they have had to play. So their bye was moved up to like a week 4. So they have to run off like 12 weeks of straight football, 12, 13 weeks of straight football. And then in this little stretch here, the game between the Baltimore Ravens was moved 3 different times. It had been played on that Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. The Steelers were looking at 10 days off before their next game. But that's not the case. So they, after playing Wednesday, they will play again Monday, and that is hosting the Washington football team. So I say Washington National because of the Washington Nationals baseball, so that's why. But anyway, the Washington football team have a chance to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers because, well, and this is my reasoning behind that. The Pittsburgh Steelers, as much as I'm a fan, and I would love to see this team go 16-0. But we all know 16-0 in a crazy year like this year with COVID-19 is just not ideal. It's just not ideal. I mean, your players could get COVID-19 in the worst time. They could line up in the first playoff game in January, missing 10 players, and you're out. Now, I mean, you would be out anyway, but the fact that if you're still unbeaten, it just makes it even tougher to swallow, right? So, I mean, I think they're going to lose. I think they might lose that last game against the Cleveland Browns. It might be a non-meaningful game because they want to rest their players. I mean, that is likely. So they could be 15-1, or they could lose this game to the Washington football team, which I mean, Washington could beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, come on. I'm still trying to figure out how they beat the Dallas Cowboys 41-16 at Dallas. I thought if any team Dallas had a chance of beating in their division, it was this Washington team, especially with Alex Smith, who has just not really been that great. But the problem with the the Washington football team, I got to stop saying that, is Antonio Gibson. Okay, and they also have J.D. McKissick. I mean, they have a running game, and the running game is really starting to pan out for Ron Rivera and the Washington football team and Terry McLaurin. McLaurin, whenever Alex Smith, if he could get this guy the ball, he's gonna produce some great plays on the field. They have a hell of a defense. The Montez Sweat, Tim Settle, Ryan Kerrigan. I mean, they really have a good football team, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will win the game. They should win the game, but man, they really didn't look that great. And normally, the Steelers, what I have noticed about them is that when they play a bad game, they always follow it up with, a better performance. Now, this particular week or game will be played without Bud Dupree, who is out for the season, but they do get Stephon Tuitt back, who I believe was out. I think it was on the COVID list, the COVID-19 list. So Stephon Tuitt comes back on that defensive line, which strengthens the defense just a little bit better after losing Bud Dupree. But I think, what we saw in the game against the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger was putting the ball where it needed to be. But when it came to Johnson, Chase Claypool, I mean, and just dropping balls. I mean, Eric Ebron. I mean, you're just dropping passes that are in your hand. They touch your hand. They're right at you. So I don't know. So I gotta think that Big Ben may have shared some of his concerns with the team. I know he was pissed, and I know they're gonna play better. So I think they'll beat Washington on Monday. This game is going to be played. The timing of this game is 5 p.m. Eastern time, so it's a little bit better than that game against the Ravens on Wednesday, which was 2:30 Central Time, or I think 2:30 Central Time or something like that. It was just crazy. But anyway, it was just an awkward week, week 12 of the National Football League. So and then you have your Tuesday night game, or this is a night game, so it's an 8 p.m. Eastern, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. Dallas Cowboys 3-8 at the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens win this game. Ravens are pissed. They will have most of their players back. They will have all of their running backs back. They will have J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram. They're going to have Lamar Jackson. Everybody's going to be back. So, and they know they need to win to stay in the playoff chase. So, it's just unfortunate timing for the Dallas Cowboys that this game got moved back and allowed time for all of the Baltimore Ravens to get healthy, or the ones that are not injured. And then how about this? Dez Bryant is going to play against his old team. I gotta think that Dez Bryant is somewhere buying Lamar Jackson drinks or whatever. Maybe not out in the public, but just somewhere in his ear. Like, man, you got to give me the ball. I have to score on the Dallas Cowboys. I have to. I don't care if you line me up as a running back on 3rd and goal or 2nd and goal. I just think he wants to get in the end zone against the Dallas Cowboys, and he'll probably punt that ball to Jerry Jones. He's going to do something if he scores a touchdown to where the Cowboys are going to know about it. So that is week 13 of the National Football League, folks. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll come back. Dustin Pfeiffer, by the way, could not be on today due to some family emergencies. So, Dustin, hope everything is well. We'll see you back next week for week 14. We only got a couple more weeks of the regular season before we start talking about playoff scenarios and playoff matchups. So, hey, enjoy your week 13 of the National Football League. We'll see you back here next week on the Mean Gene Show here on iHeartRadio.